Please.
That's a lot of my fair.
I'm gonna be using it while you're gone.
Okay, it is 8:32. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners on May 20th. Thanks everyone for attending. The first thing on the agenda is public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? If you're online, if you're on Zoom, click your raise hand button. We're gonna give you some time to find that. Someone showed me how hard it is to find it on an Apple device, and so now I do.
Oh, yeah. I'm not seeing anyone. We only have 3 attendees.
I guess some organizations make you sign up in advance.
Oh, really?
Glad we don't do that. Okay, I'm gonna close public comment. Next on the agenda is county commissioner updates. Who would like to?
I can go first. I attended the Historical Society of Idaho Springs gala Friday. They raised quite a bit of money there. We had the BOCC with the mayors where we discussed childcare again. And then I took some of the various groups over to the LDS church just so they could look at it and discuss if it's even feasible. Jessica did have a private childcare facility, I won't name its name, to see if they could come over here. They're already in Evergreen, Jefferson County. And then we welcomed a new police judge, Georgia, and I do not know her last name.
Hopeful.
Okay, so I sat down and had a one-on-one with her and just kind of explained some things that are going on. I did want to announce too, I am part of the C4 Connectors group, and we are having a club fair September 13th. This is a group that connects citizens with the resources and clubs in Clear Creek County, and that will be in collaboration with the library. So if anybody knows of a club that would like to register for this, it's just to keep people from being isolated. Suicide rates are up, and this was a nationwide thing, and we thought the C4 Connectors could take this on.
I haven't done this.
Okay, that'd be great. And then we did the economic resilience team. There were a lot of great ideas that came out of that. Hopefully, they'll put that all together. And then we did the signing ceremony with Polis, where he signed 4 different bills. I'm sure George will talk more about that. And then we did a town hall with Dylan Roberts and Leslie Smith and Heidi McCollum. And I suggest everybody look at the current to see what the reasoning was for her dropping the charges, because there was more than what was originally said. It was a very emotional night, I would say. And then I also did the Henderson Community Stakeholder interview. That was for Human Rights Impact. And then we just did the safety meeting yesterday. Conversations continue about needs and tax proposals. And then the Housing Authority with Brian will probably talk about more. I attended last night. Things are moving along with that as well. So that's it for me.
Since our last meeting, I attended the I-70 Coalition Board meeting and the DRCOG meeting, which is the Denver Regional Council of Governments. I attended a second DRCOG meeting on small communities, topics of concerns. That evening, I joined George at the Mayors and Commissioners Youth Award Night, celebrating our high school students who have overcome some challenges and are succeeding. We went to the St. Mary's Town Hall, where we, Colton discussed the budget, and we answered lots of questions, and also Road and Bridge talked about the work on Fall River Road. I attended the Board of Education joint meeting with the BOCC, along with my colleagues, and participated in the Clear Creek Gilpin Regional Resilience Team working session, and participated in the joint meeting between BOCC and the Tourism Board I attended the Georgetown I-70 chain-up law and Jake brake muffler bills signed into law by the governor. And there was also a wildlife and water bill signing in Empire that we all went to. That evening, I went to the legislative update by our state senator, Roberts and Rep. Smith, and heard the legal update by our district attorney, McCollum. I was the Clear Creek representative to the Red Rocks Community College 55th commencement ceremonies and participated in the BOCC Public Safety Finance meetings with the municipalities, the Clear Creek Fire Authority and EMS. And I will be meeting with the Georgetown Police Judge this week.
Okay. Thank you all for covering so much of what we've been up to. I tend to try to use these to kind of focus on the future things that you need heads up on that are coming down the pike for us. On that list, we've got, this is the time of year for us to start thinking about anything we want to get done in the legislature next year. To that end, CCAT has a meeting on Thursday. This board's legislatively is for the voters in our county to have better tax options. Right now, there are decisions that they're not allowed to make, like whether the tax rate on raft trips should be 0. And CCAT has released a survey asking us to identify various sort of county revenue legislative efforts. That would be all of them, I think, could be of a lot of value to Clear Creek. That survey is asking us to identify just how much those various options are worth to us. If you've seen it and you've gone, I don't know how to answer these questions, I want you to know that I've got that covered. I wouldn't have been able to answer those questions 4 months in either, but at this point, I've done a lot of math about these options and been thinking about it for a long time. So I've got you covered on that. And then on the 22nd, we're really going to try at CCAT to narrow those ideas down to 1 or 2 so that we can begin advocacy. We spent last summer sort of in process trying to decide what our priorities were instead of being in advocacy. So I'm going to try to sort of turn that corner a lot faster this interim with CCAT. That's happening on the 22nd. I want to remind us again that the CCI legislative proposal deadline is sometime in early June. I think to either of you, if you come across something in statute that you think we need to change, CCI is a good vehicle to go advocate for those changes. The form is on their website and it's pretty simple to, like, you don't have to have a fully baked idea. CCI's process works so that you throw out an idea, work to improve it over the summer, and then in the fall, they'll actually be voting on 5 priorities or 5 to 8 coming from all the counties. This is also to staff, same thing. Our staff, if you've come across something in statute that's affecting your ability to do your job and serve the people well, we want to know, we want to go advocate for you. Those are 2 things that I've been really focused on. I am leaving town on the 24th. I'll be gone all week next week. My apologies, I won't be with you at Emerge. We tried to find a date that didn't conflict, but we couldn't. So I've got a lot of confidence that you guys are going to represent us well. And I do think, I know last couple of weeks ago, I said I wasn't sure I'd be back on the first week of June. But I will be. I'm going to leave a day earlier rather than get stuck in Lima, which sounds as fun as that sounds.
How would you
I'm
get
choosing to
stuck?
be at CCI.
Oh, good.
the airport in Lima is closed during when my flight was set to depart. So now we're having to find another flight. So that is happening. And I think that is everything. Maybe as another heads up, in Congress, the House it looks like their big budget resolution is going to make it to the floor of the House and get a vote. So I'll be watching to see how our delegation votes on this proposal that would really impact counties, and more importantly, the people of Clear Creek County. What they're proposing is to reduce services on a lot of people that really need them so that they can fund a tax cut to the wealthy. I have a problem with that. I suspect you will as well. And this is a heads up that there may be some fast moving advocacy opportunities that you might want to be prepared for, and we might want to be prepared as a board to be discussing that stuff. So like in our May 27th meeting that we have, there's a chance that I'm asking letters to be added to it. There's another I asked to be added to this agenda, because one of those ideas that the federal government has is that FEMA shouldn't be there for us in the same way that they were when disasters happen. That's a really big deal. And so that's kind of what's on my mind that I wanted to, prep the team for this morning. And that's all for me. County manager update, Brian.
Good morning. Just a couple items this morning. Just a reminder, we have our annual meeting with the Fire Authority Board and the municipalities this Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Idaho Springs City Hall. And with respect to the Fire Authority, we continue to seek applications for the 3 nominations. We received 1 since the last time we were sitting in this room together. So I don't know if we need to do maybe some targeted marketing in some of the areas that we're trying to find representation for. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll send you 3 of you an email so you know at least which areas we have applications for and which we don't. And if maybe some folks in those areas and might be able to reach out to something that might be interested. So
we have town halls in both of the areas. Well, 2 of the 3 areas. We missed this the same areas, but we might want to mention that in our town halls.
yeah, that's a good point. Joni mentioned the Housing Authority Board met last night. They have 2 RFPs on the street right now using the local planning grant that we received from the state, one for attorney services and one for a consultant, just kind of help stand the organization up. A subset of us are meeting next week to review the applications we've received for the executive director position and scheduling interviews in the next couple of weeks here. So that's moving. George, you mentioned May 27 meeting, which is next Tuesday, day after Labor Day. In the past, we have brought that CCI item with respect to legislation to the board. So I don't know if that means it needs to be on May 27 because the next meeting after that is June 17. And if that's due on the 7th, if that's due early June, May 27th would be the only time for the 3 of you to discuss it here, unless we schedule something else to do that. So.
We always retain the option, if we have to do a special meeting.
Yeah,
So we can't discuss it on June 10th?
we don't have a meeting on June 10th.
Oh.
Moved our June 2nd meeting because of CCI to May 27th. So that means your next meeting is June 17th.
Thank you.
So I can talk with you offline about that. And then finally, on today's agenda, we would like to pull item B on consent, the employee disaster deployment policy. I did not catch the fact that it's rescinding another resolution, which means it needed a resolution itself. So we will more than likely bring that back on the June 17 meeting.
Or May 27th?
No, June 17. And that's it.
Been looking at the CCI website to try to figure out when that deadline actually is.
It's usually right on the form they give you.
Yeah, they've changed their website. I'm not finding it, but
They did, they changed everything around on that.
it looks really good. Anyway, if we have to do a special meeting, we'll do a special meeting. You agree?
Mhm.
Okay. Communications update, Megan.
All right. Yeah, as you guys mentioned, we had the St. Mary's Town Hall. That was pretty well attended. I think we probably would even have like 30 people there. So that was really good. Our next town hall / we're kind of piggybacking off the Emerge meeting is May 28th at 6 PM. That's at King Murphy Elementary. The board will be there talking about county budget, answering questions, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're in the Evergreen area, feel free to come along. Also, just a reminder, this Monday, the county will be closed for Memorial Day. So if you're coming in to get licensed stuff, you'll be able to do that on Monday. And then another thing is the photo contest is still going on. We're doing a photo contest for the website. We're doing a redesign of the website. So I'm looking for really pretty photos of Clear Creek County or anything fun like that. So if you have a nice photo, send it to me and you might get a cool t-shirt. So that's all I have.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. I know that after some questions, the employee disaster deployment policy is being pulled. We're going to take that up at a later date. So that's item B. Anybody want to pull anything else for discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to read the consent agenda. Item A, consideration of approval of the warrant register. Item C, consideration of approval of final settlement of agreement between owner and contractor for Charlie's Place Animal Shelter, HVAC, retrofit, and solar PV project contract. Iconergy. Item D, consideration of approval of resolution 5-55, resolution to adopt the 2025 county operating plan, setting standard operating procedures, agreed procedures, and responsibilities to implement cooperative wildfire protection within Clear Creek County. Item E, consideration of approval of resolution 5-53, resolution adopting the amended 2024 compensation plan for all county employees, including those elected county officials, and rescinding resolution number 25-17. F, consideration of approval of May 6th, 12th, 13th, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting minutes. Before I ask for a motion, I actually want to pull item F for discussion. So proper motion in this case would be to approve the consent agenda as read without item F.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item F. I just had a quick comment on this. There are some minor errors, and let me just pull up that email I sent.
Is it on this, remember, or the, well,
It's the meetings from May 6th, and so
okay,
I think we can approve them today with two clarifications. On page 3 in the description of my commissioner update. What I was asking for was permission to sign a letter of support for a bill that would change LIHTC at the federal level in a way that would help us have access to that low income housing tax credit program. That's the first one. The second one is that I was referring to the CCI legislative concept submittal process. It states CCAT, but I was referring to the CCI one. So those are the two changes. I've got them in writing to Beth, but I think I've put enough on the record for us to make a motion and approve them as amended.
okay. Thank you.
I move to approve the minutes from May 6th, 12th, and 13th Board of County Commissioners as amended.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm gonna say that motion passes. Okay, so the next thing that we have is, I want us to do an executive session. We've got it, it's written into the agenda here. And when we get back, we can do the resolution to recognize May as Wildfire Awareness Month. So I move the board into executive session for the following purposes.
Pursuant to CRS 246402(4)B and E for the county attorney to meet with the Board of County Commissioners for the purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions pertaining to the county's 1041 regulatory authority over the Floyd Hill construction project and determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators with regard to conditions of any permits related thereto.
So that was the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Board will adjourn into executive session. Now written cap, no decisions will be made. When we return here, we will take up the, as I stated, wildfire awareness resolution. Thank you, everyone. The board has concluded its executive session. No written minutes were kept, no decisions were made. We're back here to consider approval of resolution 25-54. This is a resolution to recognize May 2025 as Wildfire Awareness Month in Clearfield County. So to start, we'll read the resolution and then take a motion, and during discussion, we can offer anything else. Becca, would you like to read that?
Whereas wildfires are increasingly a natural and reoccurring element of Colorado's ecosystem, but the risk they pose to lives, homes, and communities throughout the West with a changing climate and as more people move close have dramatically increased due to factors such as prolonged drought, strong winds, rising temperatures in the wildland areas of our state. Most of these fires are human-caused settlement in wildfire-prone areas. And whereas this unprecedented growth of nearly half of all Coloradans now reside in the wildland-urban interface, which has elevated the need for wildfire prevention and preparedness at both the community and individual homeowner levels. And whereas long-term climate trends and the buildup of forest fuels have further increased wildfire risk in Colorado. These factors, coupled with the expansion of the wildland-urban interface, are challenging efforts to protect, and Clear Creek County also faces unique challenges in protecting its residents, property, and natural landscapes from the increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires. And whereas providing coordinated education concerning how, where, and why wildfire burns, as well as collaborative efforts to increase survivability of homes and property and encourage more Coloradans to live wildfire ready, is paramount to coexisting in a fire environment. And whereas proactive wildfire preparedness is essential to reducing the devastating impacts of wildfires, and this includes home hardening efforts, defensible space creation, and community-wide collaboration to enhance wildfire resiliency and readiness. And whereas May is a critical time for residents to prepare for the summer wildfire season by taking proven effective actions such as clearing roofs and gutters of debris, pruning overhead branches, relocating flammable materials such as firewood, and securing proper evacuation plans. And whereas the Live Wildfire Ready campaign, now in its third year, continues to inspire and educate Coloradans on how to prepare their homes, protect their loved ones, and strengthen their community's defenses against wildfires, while fostering resilience and safety throughout the state. And whereas the combined efforts of local, state, and federal wildfire agencies, including the Colorado State Forest Service, Division of Colorado, in partnership with the Fire Prevention and Control USDA Forest Service, and numerous fire prevention, land management, and wildfire safety in the state, are working together to increase awareness of wildfires and serve as a model of cooperation to safeguard both lives and landscapes. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Clear Creek County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 Wildfire Awareness Month in Clear Creek County, Colorado, and we urge all residents, businesses, organizations to join in the campaign to live wildfire ready by taking immediate steps to reduce wildfire risks, to educate ourselves and our neighbors about wildfire preparedness, and to honor the shared responsibility of protecting our communities and natural resources. Adopted this 20th day of May, 2025, at a regularly scheduled meeting of the Clear Creek Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. I think at this point, I'd welcome a motion to approve this resolution.
I would like to make a motion to approve the Clear Creek County Resolution 25-54, recognizing May of 2025 as Wildfire Prevention Awareness Month in Clear Creek County, Colorado.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Any comments?
I just want to say this is what I spent my weekend doing, was clearing out brush and stuff that could spread a wildfire to my house. So we were doing wildfire mitigation.
Any comment from you? Nope. Most of what I thought I might say was in the resolution that was drafted. So compliments to staff for getting it drafted well and bringing it to us. The only thing I would say to this board and this organization is, the most important role that we can play is in working with the public to understand the need for these projects. What we need to accomplish is a significant change in the way our forest looks. And after these projects, the forest tends to look worse than it did before. And then after a 10-year period, you see the regrowth, you see the aspens. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go visit the area around Silverthorne and Frisco, in Summit County, where you'll see some really, really wonderful aspen groves. If you're there in the fall, you'll really appreciate it. I hope that's what this organization focuses on. We're never going to have the resources to achieve the change at the scale, but we sure can help our partners in the federal and state government get these projects done. It's something that we haven't done a good enough job of in the past. It's something that we can do a better job of moving forward. So that's my only comment.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was up in Leadville camping every summer, and when they did one of those strips, this was years ago, and I just thought, oh my gosh, that looks terrible. It was pretty bumming for like 2 years, but now it is the wildflowers that came up was stuff that had not grown there before. So now the aspens and the little pine trees are coming up, and it's just rebuilding itself. So totally worth it.
Okay, I have one point. We've been doing mitigation for years, and just recently, well, actually in the past year, I learned from the Clear Creek Fire Authority that they will collect extra wood. So if you don't need all the wood that you've accumulated from taking down trees, they collect it and donate it to families who need it to heat their homes in the wintertime. So we've had them come out twice now. They took out 2 truckloads of extra wood. We still have a ton, but that's an easy way of reducing your fuel load.
Yeah, just to add on to that, another good example of that is if you want to really see what kind of the natural forest cycle was supposed to be, hike the burn scar in Rocky Mountain National Park. On the Grand Lake side, you can hike the whole scar. It's been 4 years now, I think. It's beautiful. It's unbelievable. You'll see more wildlife than you'll ever see, tons of growth, like undergrowth, flowers, plants. Normally that's really shaded, super, no undergrowth at all, can't see very far. It's unbelievable. And the amount of wildlife that's there eating that undergrowth is crazy. So you just got to give it some time and it will really, really, really transform things for the better.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. It is Wildfire Awareness Month in addition to Mental Health Awareness Month in May. Next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of resolution number 25-46, Colorado Transportation Investment Office 1041 hearing. I think I'm giving this to, out of convenience, Peter to describe what's happening with this.
Okay, so for this public hearing, for a variety of reasons, what we've decided to do is open the hearing, as that's because it was noticed appropriately pursuant to the statutory requirements of today being the hearing. However, we're going to continue the hearing immediately upon opening it to May 27th. CDOT will appear at that time to discuss that particular 1041 permit application. That's the extent of it. So we would ask that this simply be continued to that date.
Okay, so I would welcome a motion to continue this hearing to May 27th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is consideration of approval of resolution 2547. This is the Lloyd Hill CDOT project. Prior to opening this public hearing, I'm going to announce a short private break. We'll reconvene here roughly 10:05. Okay, we are ready to begin. This is a public hearing. This is continued consideration of approval of resolution number 25-47. Areas and activities of state interest, case number SI 2023-001. For the Floyd Hill CDOT project to complete a 6-lane highway component from Floyd Hill through Veterans Memorial Tunnels, including constructing the Greenway Trail and frontage road from Idaho Springs to the US Highway 6 interchange and adding an auxiliary lane to the uphill section of Floyd Hill with modifications of the US Highway 6 and Hidden Valley interchanges for CDOT.
I did already. Okay. But
The way we're going to conduct this hearing is we're going to ask for a staff report on the changes that were made since the last continuation. We'll ask for any comment from the applicant. And then we'll open it up for public comment. After public comment, we will get to commissioner questions. Once we feel like we have the shared understanding, we'll go into discussing our opinions and making a determination. So all of that said, I think I am handing this first to you, Peter.
that is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would welcome our friends with CDOT up to the table.
Right ahead.
You got another, you got it.
Mr. Chair, if we could just have them identify themselves for the record as well.
Oh, yeah, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. Kurt Kiyanka, CDOT Floyd Hill Project Director.
I'm Abby Manafri. I'm a NEPA manager for the I-70 corridor and work on Floyd Hill.
While we're identifying people, we've got,
Amy Saxton, Strategic and Community Planning Director for Clear Creek County.
and we also have,
On the I-70 project.
just to make sure the microphone's heard that, this is Sandy Neely, the consultant on the I-70 project. She'll be participating in this hearing as well. And now, Peter.
Let me begin by reminding everybody the opening of this hearing occurred on May 6th. There were discussions with CDOT and the board regarding changes that they would have liked to, that both parties would agree could be incorporated into the 1041 permit. After the board meeting concluded, staff did consult with CDOT over a variety of changes. What is in the board packet today is a clean version of the 1041 permit, incorporating the changes that the board and CDOT discussed. What is not in the packet is the red line version. We will have to supplement the packet with that red line version. It didn't make it into the packet in time. So I'm going to go over some of those changes, and the changes that I'm referring to are the changes between the original permit that was in the May 6th application packet relating to the 1041 permit and this new clean version that you see in the packet. There are also a couple changes from even the clean version that the board has and that the public has in the packet. All of these changes have been discussed with CDOT. There are some Scrivener's changes that we may make as well. But I also want to clarify some things that were in the clean version that we're going to change. So in working with this, and we are currently what we're doing is incorporating some additional clarifications in this change. So what the board has in front of them and what the public has in front of them is a clean version. A lot of the changes between the original version and this version are clarification of language, but all of the changes that were referenced in the May 6th hearing that were agreed to between CDOT and the county are incorporated herein. And I refer the public to the May 6th hearing for those general items. The public may come back, of course, at any time and look at the red line version for clarification. What the board has in front of them is that clean version that incorporates a lot of these changes and Scrivener's errors. It does include proper references, but there are some additional things that I want to highlight. Under findings of fact, under standard criteria findings, in the clean version, you'll see in paragraph 7 on probably page 2, standard criteria findings, number 7, where it says the benefits accruing to the county and its citizens from the project will not outweigh the losses of any commercial or industrial resources within the county. We've added a term before losses, and that term is minimal. So that is not reflected in the clean version in the packet, but we are adding that. Then, under additional criteria findings, it currently may state, I believe it says condition number 9 in the clean version, says the benefits of the project, such as expected development in the regional and local impact areas, we've added may not outweigh the social fiscal, as opposed to what was previously in there, which I've erased on my copy.
Said will.
So what we did is we corrected essentially the language so it's clear and consistent with the 1041 regulations and the criteria number 7 that I just referenced in the earlier section. So it will say may not. Then you'll see in that same paragraph in the clean version, the language, the very last sentence said the addition of a toll lane is warranted. That actually should be a separate criteria. So we are moving that to number 10. The addition of a toll lane is warranted. Additionally, what we will be supplementing and adding to the language is incorporating language directly from the 1041 regulations that relates to if a project consists of or includes adding toll lanes to an existing arterial highway, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to simply address whether or not 3 lanes of toll lane, the various criteria outlined in those regulations. Commissioner Chair Marlin, did you have a question? You look like you wanted to say something. Okay. And so we'll just incorporate some of the language so it's clear and doesn't just say randomly a toll lane is warranted. The next change is in the, I believe I'm down in the stipulations and conditions. The clean version, there was a section that is added that says CDOT will add noise monitoring stations at various locations throughout the project to adequately monitor noise levels along the roadway. I need to correct that. There is a condition previously in the additional criteria findings. There is condition number, I believe it may say 12 in the clean version. Noise levels caused by the project reasonably are predicted, et cetera, et cetera. That particular finding notes that therefore condition number, et cetera, is required, that noise monitoring is required. The actual reference to the condition wasn't in there, so we added that. But in that section in I, instead of it saying CDOT will add noise monitoring stations, it's noted already that CDOT performs noise monitoring operations right there anyway within the project. So that change should be CDOT will continue noise monitoring. We will remove the word add and we will remove the word stations. So that it simply is referring to a condition that exists. We then are doing, I believe this, there's one other section where I believe that language is used. We'll simply make it consistent, and that's actually the previous sections, number 7 that I had mentioned.
Section 3A2.
3A2, thank you. I believe that's just about it. Oh, one other thing. There is one section that refers specifically to CDOT's obligations to meet certain development guidelines in the staff report. The project elements. This is in 2F. Yes, stipulations and conditions 2F. CDOT will complete all planned project elements, particularly the 6 key project elements described on page 2 of the executive summary accompanying the application packet. We will likely fill in what those 6 criteria are and just put them in the document itself. It's just an added thing to have in the document for clarification purposes. I believe that is it.
I believe so as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So our request, Mr. Chair, is that taking into consideration those, if the board has any questions, but also to confirm with CDOT any things that they would like to add. And then any public comment you'd like to hear as well that we could incorporate.
Let's go to the applicant here. Kurt, I think I'm handing it to you. Any comments on this?
Well, thank you, and thanks for the great collaboration on this and working together to come to what I think is very fair and reasonable. You know, I know we have some things to work through just with timing of, you know, CSS and some of the requirements in here in developing those reports. I feel very comfortable that we can do that and can meet all of the requirements spelled out in here. So again, thank you. I do not have any additional comments based on the changes. So Abby, I'll turn over to you.
Yeah, thank you for the collaboration on this. I think everything sounds good. The changes make sense to us, and yeah, we'll just be kind of working together to figure out what the next steps are on reporting and how that all looks.
Mr. Chair, before you say anything, I just want to add that Becky Allman, who's also our outside transportation counsel, is available too for any questions. I'd like to have her brought over just in case she has any additional clarifications she wanted to offer.
She's joining as a panelist.
Okay.
I do have one additional question on here.
Mhm.
Reading through it, and I am on reporting and monitoring requirements. Section 1 with the air quality. Additionally, at the very bottom of 1, it says additionally historical data on air quality such as the Wallstrom Aggregate Quarry Official Development Plan shall be utilized for baseline comparisons. Is that something the county is in possession of? Can we
Get
see
you?
that?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, great.
great. Thank you.
And those are particulate monitors only.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
They don't measure gases.
we're happy to compare.
Yeah.
We just need to know where to get that report from.
Provided to you, and it just is an additional guideline for us to.
That's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Compare.
Okay, Becca Alman, any comments from you?
Yes, I joined just a minute late, and I just wanted to make sure, Peter, that when you were going over the changes, did you discuss additional criteria findings number 10, that we are changing that language to state that the effects of the addition of a toll lane have been reasonably demonstrated. Therefore, the toll lane is warranted. And while I haven't added them yet, I will just cite the section 10 of the 1041 regs from the county there.
I did mention it, but I did not say it nearly as eloquently or directly or understandably.
Okay, good. Well, I missed it, but I'm sure you handled it. But that we just wanted to make sure that was more, I guess clearly identified as something that's been demonstrated by CDOT.
Thank you all. We clearly pay very careful attention to these things, as we should. So that's no more comments from CDOT. You good?
We're good. Thank you.
Staff comments. Let's do public comment. If there's anyone here from the public that wishes to make a comment, if you're in person, you can approach the podium. If you're on Zoom, you can click raise hand. This public comment is really to speak to this hearing, the content matter of this hearing. Public comment for all of the other stuff already happened. And you will be given 5 minutes. I see someone in the room.
Good morning.
If you
Good
could
morning.
please state your name, generally where you live, and we would love to hear your thoughts.
Joanne Sorensen. I live at 220 Mill Creek Road, and I'm here as a volunteer who has been representing the Upper Clear Creek Watershed Association at the technical team meetings regarding this project. And the comments that I have to offer, they aren't substantive in terms of things that should be changed in the resolution. It's more for the benefit of the people who are going to be following us in the coming years as this permit is in place and the work is proceeding. And I wanted to get some things on record so that the people, I believe it's the planning director who's going to be dealing with these reports as they are submitted to the county annually, so that they understand some of the history of the issues and the resources that are available to county staff. I submitted some comments in writing after seeing the final copy of the resolution. So just let me quickly go through them and explain why I submitted them. I have 3 comments or requests regarding the resolution. All relate to the information in the section 3 water quality section. It's page 7 in the red line version, and I'm not sure what page in the final version. But it says, let me go ahead and just read it. Yeah. That water quality section says, CDOT shall continue to coordinate and work with county staff, CDOT water quality staff, and or other applicable state agencies to formulate an effective water testing sampling program. And I suggested, don't put the or in. I think it's and. They will work with applicable state agencies and stakeholder agencies that have been participating for the last several years. And those agencies include the Upper Clear Creek Watershed Association, Denver West Trout Unlimited, Colorado Parks and Recreation, CPW, Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They've all participated in the last several years on this, actually for many years. And then I also would recommend that we work with Clear Creek County Open Space, because they have streamside sites where they encourage fishing, and water quality is essential. Continue with that recreational activity. So I just recommended taking out the or and adding stakeholder agencies so that people locally and in regional state issues will be involved in these discussions and understanding the changes or improvements or degradation of water quality as we move through these improvements to the highway. And then the other item that I wanted to submit for the record, so that the planning director will have some resources, is the report that came from Clear Creek Consultants. It's a report that is submitted annually to the Upper Clear Creek Watershed Association. And he reports on the data collection at Clear Creek 40, CC 40, the water monitoring site, which is near Two Bears, used to be called Kermit's. And that is a report that shows the pattern of increasing salinity. It's a trend that has existed since Mr. Kraus was doing these reports of increasing specific conductance, which is the measurement of the salinity in the water, or the stand-in for the measurement of salinity. And it had been on an upward trend since 2006 through May of 2020. And they are continuing. He is continuing with these measurements. And that is an essential piece of data that is important to water quality in Clear Creek. So I've got that for the record, and then that recommendation that we include stakeholder agencies and other state agencies. They're not regulatory, but they care about water quality. Okay, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. 40 seconds left.
Thank you, Ms. Sorensen. Your public comments are always very valuable. Do we have any other public?
No one has raised their hand.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. So let's get into commissioner questions. Colleagues, questions we have? I guess I'll start. I'm just gonna take this public comment and turn it into a question. I'll start with staff. Thoughts on removing or and specifically identifying local stakeholder agencies?
So the language that was proposed would remove or, and then where it says other applicable state, we would add and stakeholder agencies without defining exactly what those agencies are. We would just say and stakeholder was the recommendation. I have no concerns from a legal standpoint. Certainly if Rebecca Allman has any concerns, I'd ask her to mention them. And then of course I'd look to CDOT and to Amy in terms of whether they have any concerns. It actually seems a reasonable request.
CDOT, any comments?
We're happy to coordinate, yeah, with stakeholders and Joanne, continue on and doing what we've been doing. So I think that's a reasonable request. I don't see an issue. I mean, if there's something that just becomes a big burden, we'll have to figure that out, but I don't see that as a big burden to project.
And this might be something we need to figure out at our subsequent reporting meetings and
Mhm.
figuring out how it all works, but are we responsible for distributing the data, the reports to stakeholder agencies, or is that the county's job?
No, I think that would fall to, respectfully, I would say that would fall to us. As long as we, since it's our permit, get the information, then I think it's up to us to coordinate with those agencies just to make sure they have that information. And we'll also we'll expect those agencies to be proactive as well.
I wonder if, would it be helpful to clarify this by inserting like as requested by the county? I mean, there are a lot of people that could potentially identify themselves as stakeholders. You may not even know who they are. We may not know who they are. Is the right way for us all to know who we're talking about to say as requested by the county? So if we say, oh, BOCC was a good stakeholder here, then instead of just being exposed to anybody saying, well, I'm a stakeholder and you didn't send me a report and now you're in violation.
Well, I think, I thought what we were saying is that you would send the report to the county and then it would be our responsibility to disseminate it.
That is what I'm saying, is that the way I read this is CDOT will continue to work with the county on this, and then CDOT water quality staff, I mean, they'll continue to work with them. In terms of other applicable state and stakeholder agencies, similarly to how we don't really define state agencies, I don't know that we need to define a stakeholder agency. Ultimately, that's something that will be determined when it says CDOT will continue to coordinate and work with us. If is there somebody out there that reasonably does not qualify as a stakeholder, we wouldn't hold an expectation. So we'll have the end of the day.
Okay, then I'm satisfied.
Oh. Can Joanne make a comment?
Sorry. Any other questions?
Joanne is a former county commissioner. Report's going to.
We don't know.
Okay.
Whoever we want to send them.
Thank you. I see that we resolved commercial vehicles by referring to state statute. Does this now get us, I think there was an intent to allow bus staying into that lane, but not others. Are we good with that?
I think just referring to the state statute, and then in my eyes, that would have to be worked out with the state statute. And then I think that would be the intent. But I can't speak for Mustang.
Fair enough. Thank you. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay. Any other questions from my colleagues? What are our opinions on this?
I'm comfortable with it, with the changes made.
So any motion would simply be a motion to approve what's listed here, subject to the modifications discussed in this hearing, the modifications discussed in the original portion of the hearing, and a direction to staff to ensure that the final version is consistent with all of the recommended changes discussed.
That sounds like a wonderfully articulated motion.
So moved.
So from what I understand, Mr. Chair, there is a motion to approve resolution 2547, areas and activities of state interest, case number SI or S1. S1 SI 2023-0001 for the Floyd Hill CDOT project to complete a 6-lane highway component from Floyd Hill through the Veterans Memorial Tunnels, including constructing the Greenway Trail and frontage road from Idaho Springs to the US Highway 6 interchange and adding an auxiliary lane to uphill section of Floyd Hill, to the uphill section of Floyd Hill with modifications of the US Highway 6 and Hidden Valley interchanges for CDOT, subject to staff being directed to ensure that the final version incorporates changes from May 6th hearing and its continuation today into May 20th, and any additional changes that that were discussed, as well as any other Scrivener's changes.
I second.
That was so moved.
Oh, so moved. Okay.
Clarify. And then, there we go.
Discussion. I just want to express a lot of gratitude to our staff team for looking so carefully at this and to CDOT for rolling with us. That's all I have to say.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Christina.
Thank you, Becky.
So the next thing on the agenda, we're doing pretty good on time, is a work session with the Denver Regional Council of Governments. This is part 3 of several work sessions. Thank you for spending so much time getting us up to speed on what's going on at DRCOG. This is about the Area Agency on Aging.
Sit down if you'd like. Thanks.
So are we doing public safety?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So we have here Jayla Sanchez Warren, and Sherry Heidvogel is our appointee to the Area Agency on Aging. Is she present? Is she on Zoom?
Yep, I just promoted her to panelist.
Okay, so we have Sherry Heidvogel on Zoom and Jayla here in person. Jayla, thank you for coming.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So much, it's so much fun. I haven't been up here in a while. So nice to be here. I'm a mountain girl, live in Cold Creek Canyon, so I was interested to hear what you were talking about. I was also very interested that you were, fire safety is so important, but such a big issue for older adults, as well as mental health. So I was happy. I think one thing that I'd like to encourage everybody is don't forget your older adults in the county. I have a presentation. Are you gonna show the presentation? Okay, great.
Make sure it's the
Awesome.
one you were hoping for.
Yeah.
Sorry that we have those boxes because.
So let me tell you a couple of cool facts about Clear Creek older adults. You have one of the oldest populations in the metropolitan area. You're considered. So I'm from DRCOG, the Area Agency on Aging. We're the designated Area Agency on Aging. We cover Adams, Arapahoe, Denver, Douglas, Jefferson, Gilpin, Clear Creek, and Broomfield counties. Can't do it alphabetically. I can't. And Clear Creek has the oldest lived men in the region. So men live here longer than any other part of the region. One of the things the Area Agency on Aging does, I'm looking at Beth, she's giving me a hard time here, is we provide services to older adults to help them stay at home. Things like transportation, nutrition, caregiving support, legal assistance. The goal is to keep people at their home where they want to be and out of higher cost healthcare situations like nursing homes and the hospital and assisted living. But we do operate the long-term care ombudsman program, which protects the rights of people who live in nursing homes and assisted living, over 500 facilities in the metropolitan area. One of the roles of the Area Agency on Aging is to do every 4 years an area plan on aging. So I'm going to show you the community assessment survey that we did for the entire region. I'm going to show you Clear Creek's version or the survey results from Clear Creek. This was done in fall of 2022. I have to start it all over again next year. So I'll be working on a new survey. We contracted with the National Research Center at Polco out of Denver or out of Boulder to do the survey. We sent the survey out to about 1,900 individuals, but only 231 returned the survey. That's kind of, that was a trend. We learned it was COVID for one. We also kind of bite ourselves in the behind on this because we tell older adults constantly, do not give your information to anybody ever. Don't talk to anybody on the phone. Don't. And it's because older adults are at such risk for fraud and abuse. But surveys are getting harder and harder to get information from when you send out a survey. So this is just some basic. You have the full survey. I think you actually have the 22 survey as well as the 18 survey. So you can see it's a big report. Next slide, please. So the reason we do it is for planning. We need to understand what the needs are in the region, particular issues for folks, resource allocation and program development, and then advocacy. Those are the short-term goals for the report. Next slide, please. The intermediate goals are to develop programs to meet community needs, better quality programs, and then more effective policies for older adults. The goal is to create communities for older adults that are more healthy, engaged, empowered, independent, productive, and vibrant. So we're going to focus on what we're doing best in the community. This report shows what you're doing best and what some of the challenges are. We know that COVID impacted our survey results pretty dramatically. One thing is we had a ton of money pour into these services. So we were offering services that we were never able to offer before because there was a ton of money. We were delivering groceries. We were delivering medicine. We were taking people to vaccination sites. We were doing all sorts of stuff that we haven't been able to do since. And so you will see some of the results, I think, are a little bit affected by that. The access to services was better during that time. Ironically, a little bit. This survey looks at 6 domains: community design, employment and finances, equity and inclusivity, health and wellness, information assistance, and productive activities. Again, a lot more. I'm just giving you highlights of the community assessment survey that we did. Next slide, please. So here's the good news. 85% of older adults said my community is a good or excellent place to be. 86% said my neighborhood is a good place to live. 81% said my overall quality of life is good or excellent. 56% said they would recommend living in their community to someone else. 54 plan to stay in their community throughout retirement, and 60% said that it was a good place to retire. You have mountain communities. You in Gilpin County also have unique issues for older adults. One is the altitude, right? A lot of folks struggle with the altitude. I talked with people who come up in the summer with their oxygen tanks, and they stay in the summer. They're kind of snowbirds in the city, in the region. They come up and stay where they love to be in the summer with their oxygen tanks. But so the altitude is a problem for a lot of older adults. Access to services is a big deal. That's why it makes it harder to live up here. Medical services. It's just harder for some older adults, but you have some hardy folks up here. And Joanne is a wonderful example of that, and was a huge volunteer in COVID for older adults. Let's talk about what people said. Ease of travel by car. Well, that's a good thing because that's how you get around up here. People said ease of walking, which has changed. You've done a better job somehow because this score has changed over time. So I don't know if you've invested in sidewalks or improving sidewalks, that's an improvement. Ease of getting to places that you have to visit. Busting was I heard about busting a lot when we were doing community conversations. Fitness opportunities, that's a lot of trails and places to exercise. Feeling safe in the community, a big deal for older adults. Opportunities to volunteer, quality parks and recreation, quality of a natural environment. Next slide, please. Challenges, housing. Availability of affordable quality housing. That is one of the challenges that I heard a lot. And not only that, but repairs, right? I did a community conversation up here and one person said, my house is older than me and I'm old as dirt. And how do you get repairs and how do you pay for those repairs, right? Actually, former Commissioner Randy Wheelock helped me out a few times because I would find an older adult and he helped me fix things or build a ramp one time. So that was really helpful. A resource in the community for sure. Access to healthcare is a big deal. Have to go to town, right? Have to go to Denver to get a lot of healthcare. Information about older adult services. This is chronic and the bane of my existence. I have been in aging for 38 years. I've been the director of the Area Agency on Aging for 17 years, and I still can't get this right. We have tried so many times, basically because people don't really think about it until they need it, right? And if you go up and say, hey, I'm Jayla and I work at Aging. Oh, that is so wonderful. Oh, I see my friend over there. I'm going to go talk to that person. It's not really the favorite topic of folks. Cost of living, things are getting more expensive. People are living longer. So when they retired at 65, their income was just fine. Now they're 90 and it's harder to make ends meet, right? So it's just getting more expensive. Gas is expensive and food is expensive. And hopefully, that'll get better, but it's harder for folks. And then utility infrastructure, we saw here, water, sewer, electric, gas, broadband is a big deal, which we'll talk about later. And then employment opportunities. Some people want to work, some people have to work to make ends meet, right? Any questions about this so far?
Within the utilities, was that question just a question general about utilities, or were they identified?
I think there's more. We have to look in the survey a little bit deeper. I think there's more questions about broadband. There's questions about I definitely heard about getting wood when I was up here in the community conversations and paying for propane. I don't know if you have a volunteer wood program, like in Coal Creek Canyon, we have something called Saws and Slaws, yeah. And we are a part of that. We donate our wood for our property to the elders in the canyon. But those are really important. I heard about just the cost I heard about sewer. That sewer issues are common, or
mobile homes that are on septic is the same with the propane.
Yeah.
Most of the mobile homes are on propane. And your propane bill per month is higher than.
Propane bill was
Yeah, it's-
especially, yeah. It feels like those are just going up and up and up, and it's getting harder to figure out how to make those ends meet again. It's just challenging for folks about being on a fixed income, having medical expenses, and then all the other things that go up and up.
Sudden your septic's overflux.
Yeah,
Got it.
geez, and septic, to replace the septic or even repair the septic is huge. Next slide. People said this was a moderate or major problem for them. So 40% said knowing what services are available for them as older adults. Who can they, have any programs in the county for older adults? How can they be accessed in town what are the closest resources to folks up here? And unfortunately, they're changing pretty rapidly because we're losing funding. So Dr. Cog's Area Agency on Aging lost over $8 million in the last 2 years, state funding. And that's reduced our ability to serve folks, and people are starting to feel it, and community service providers are starting to feel it. We still are able to fund the transportation program up here, the home delivered meals program. We contract for a handyman service up here, but Seniors Resource Center has not, that's who we contract with to do it. They have not been able to hire an individual, which has been challenging, that can pass the drug requirements and the background checks. So that's been an issue. People talk about maintaining their yard. It's getting, that's getting rid of those pine needles around your house for fire mitigation. Taking care of, painting, repairing the roof. We had a fall prevention program up here a few years ago, and the lady, and I can't remember her name, she was in her 80s. She took the fall prevention program because her friends insisted that she do that, because every year she got up on her roof to repair her shingles and they were worried about her balance. Again, hardy individuals up here. And that's something that we want to support, because I heard over and over and over, if you send me to town, I will die. If I have to go to town for assisted living or whatever, I will die. Maintaining the home, just basic, it's getting harder for people to do laundry. It's getting harder to just take care of their home, to do heavy housework. 28% said they didn't feel like they had a voice in their community, that their needs didn't matter as much as other people's needs. Dealing with public benefits, this is a huge challenge right now. Medicare Advantage, Medicare, there are 32 different Medicare options in the state of Colorado. It is complicated. Then you combine that with veterans, and then maybe they're dual eligible for Medicaid, and some folks have other things like Rocky Flats benefits. It's challenging to navigate all of those benefits and how they interact together. So the Area Agency on Aging, we have staff that just do benefits, and that's certainly a resource for people. Building skills for work. People have been retired, I think, and they need to get back in the workforce. And now it's a computer world, even the cash registers, and also just applying for any benefit, you have to be able to go online these days. You can't. It's very hard to apply for benefits without having a computer or access to a computer and having some skills on a computer. So those folks in their late 70s and 80s and 90s, that's where we see a lot of people struggling. There's more younger than that, people seem to have more abilities. And I haven't connected with your library, but I think your library definitely has computers and the staff there, as I haven't recently, but they did before. And then finding affordable health insurance, and I should add here, finding docs that accept Medicare is a big deal. That's changing rapidly. And who knows what's going to happen, because in Washington, Medicare and Medicaid are being revamped as we speak. And we don't know what it's going to look like yet.
I think right now the current plan would eliminate those services for 13.7 million Americans.
On Medicaid, yes. Medicare is also being revamped as we speak. There's not as much talk about it. But I've been talking to folks in Washington that are revamping the Medicare regulations as well.
Just as a quick note, any information you're receiving, there's so much happening as they come up with this really terrible plan. Anything you can do to get that information into the hands of this board.
Okay.
We'll do what we can.
Okay, I will do that because I am in I'm attending those emergency meetings. So I will be happy to do that. We wanted to take a look at caregiving because caregiving is so important. A lot of people are caregivers. If we had to absorb the work that family caregivers and friends are doing, we would be underwater even more than we are now. So we asked about caregiving. 55% said they do 1 to 3 hours a week, no, a month. There you have volunteering. 29% say they volunteer. We wanted to see the support for folks. So there's people that are connected to their families and friends. That's good to hear. 13%, which is relatively low for the region, provide care for someone age 55 and older. 8% for someone 18 to 54. And then grandparents. So this would be providing under 18 care to people under 18. 11% of your elders are providing care. And then the last number,
Sorry, I can't give it that
38, I think it's 38% receive paid or unpaid shopping, cooking, volunteer support from somebody.
It's 93.
Is it 90?
And then 1, so never is 93.
Yeah. What's the second one?
1, it's 3%.
Okay, 3%. And so, 3%. Okay. So again, not a lot of people getting service from, requesting service from one another. Though, you have a breakfast group of older adults up here.
And lunch.
And lunch, yeah. And they are really good at getting the resources they need from their grandsons that come up once a month, or from neighbors, or there's a lot of innovation here and a lot of bartering in my community. We stay tight, and if somebody needs help, you help them. Next slide, please. There we go.
Sorry, it's a little delayed.
It's okay. We want to know about internet access because it is so very, very important in accessing services and getting telehealth calls for our folks. 80% said they have internet at home, which is really good. 21% said that high-speed internet is not available. I don't know if that's changed in the last 3 years for you. Did you get broadband laid down in any of the CDOT stuff?
The broadband is in the I-70 right of way, and it's mostly just Comcast and CenturyLink.
Okay.
And most of the people they live further out.
Yeah.
So
it was a big issue for us when we first moved to the hills.
Jayla, just a point of clarification.
Uh-huh.
How are you defining older adults?
Oh, 60 and older. In our world, that's 60 and older. So 18% said they can't afford internet, high-speed internet. 9% said they don't want it, don't need it. I have neighbors a lot like that. And then 36% says available but not reliable.
Because everybody lives down by the creek
Yeah.
and in the gulches and, you know, Starlink is great, but once it passes over the ridge line, they don't have service.
There's a myth about older adults don't use computers. That's not true. That people think that older adults, well, they can use their phone and they use Facebook because it's all about pictures of grandchildren. You know what? But they're fast adopters of technology. One, because they have to be, because that's how you get all sorts of information. There's no more yellow pages anymore. There's no more white pages. When I first started in aging, people used to call me and say, I can't read the phone number for this in the yellow pages. Can you tell me the number, right? And now it's all on the computer. And so you have to access it. Yeah, and you can say that's a wonderful thing. But you know, connectivity is so important. And a lot of people, I think I was a little bit surprised by this. 75% said they use their computer every single day, several times a day. 69% said they had access from their cell phone. They use it to visit social media sites, 33%. 67% said they use it to check email. And then 7% to share your online opinion. So there's not too many people doing that in this region. And then shopping online, 7% only 7 times a day, or several times a day. So that's good. But 43 every few weeks are using it to shop, right? To get their resources. And Amazon will deliver to your door. And that's pretty handy for a lot of people. So that's a good thing. But anything that we can do to continue to support older adults in this area, because you can't apply for services without being connected to the internet. Except for in my shop, you can call us and we'll get you. And we also help people get connected with services. So they call and then we get them applied for whatever they need. And so do like human services, they do that here as well. So what the folks at Polco do is they take the number of people that responded and then they correlate it to the number of older adults in the region. And then they do estimates or in the county of what they think or what the top needs are for older adults. And this is how it plays out. Housing, mobility, which just includes transportation, as well as walkability, employment, financial assistance, equity, community inclusivity, safety, physical health, mental health, 42% healthcare, information and services, 38%, social engagement, 24%, caregiving 11%, and civic engagement 29%. So the top are what housing and physical health and information and services. Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about that equity question? What are they asking people?
I think it's more about including folks who are older. It's not about equity and diversity. It's about
Like, are we making special accommodations for?
Yeah.
older person?
Are you considering older adults? And is it something that you think about when you think about the things that you're doing? Are you thinking about how do we are the resources equitable for them as well as maybe younger adults or school age kids or workers or whatever that is. I think sometimes folks, older adults are, and it's weird because I'm going to be 60 this year. So when I think of older adults, I'm thinking of 75 and older because that's who's usually access our services. There's not too many people between, I would say, 60 and 70 that access services unless they have a disability already, or a health issue. Next slide, please.
Sorry,
That's okay.
there we go.
So older adults, I don't think people think about the contributions, paid and unpaid, that they make to our communities. Sometimes older adults are seen as a drain on our communities, and that is not. Who are the volunteers in your community? Who are, who are the volunteers in the library? Who are the volunteers in the schools? What are they doing? They contribute so much to a community. I will tell you that several years ago, I was giving a similar presentation in Arapahoe County, a long time ago. I won't say the commissioner's name, but he said, I don't want older adults in my community. They cost me money. And since then, I started asking Polco to do the benefit of older adults in community because they really are huge. They provide informal help to families, friends, caregiving, lots of babysitting, lots of folks out in the community for helping. Next slide, please. A lot of volunteers, all the volunteers that I worked with during COVID, even though they were the highest risk for COVID, they were among, especially in Gilpin and Clear Creek, were older adults. So this is the contribution that older adults have made to your community, estimated by Polco over the last, since 2015. And I do want people to really understand there is a value to having older adults in your community. And they're a vital part of your community. Next slide, please. So of course, what we saw all across the region is people who are lower income households the needs tend to be greater. Renters needs tend to be greater. Those living alone and older adults of color. Next slide. This is just about respondents, for people who responded. So, the majority of folks that responded were 60 to 64 here, followed closely by the 70 to 74. We did get 10% age 80 and over. More males than females. This is one of the only regions that had that. But I think it talks to the longevity of the males in this region. Largely white, largely living in their own homes. 78% of them lived in the county for 10 years or more. That's a big number for the surveys. 39% own with a mortgage and 48% own with no mortgage. And then this is the income level. Most of the folks between 25,000 and 49,000 a year, followed by the next group of 50,000 to 75,000 a year. Any questions at this point? So understanding the needs of older adults is more important than ever. And I'll tell you why in a minute. It's essential for communities to understand what older adults need, and it's necessary to help us all live the best lives and thrive that we can. So I know that over the long time that I've been working up with Clear Creek, that it's always been a goal to live and work and play. And I would like you to add age well to that component, because you have some awesome, the people who are still here, they have made huge contributions to this county, to this area. And they don't want to go and live their last years in town in Denver. Not Arvada, not Lakewood, they don't want it, not even Evergreen. They want to live here. And that was loud and clear when I talked to folks. Next slide,
Part of
please.
Evergreen, isn't it?
Yeah, part of Evergreen, but not, city Evergreen. Next slide, please. I'll tell you why it's also more important than ever, because Colorado is the third fastest aging state in the nation. So let me explain that. We have lots and lots of people that moved to Colorado in the 70s and they stayed. We keep our older adults. They may go visit Florida and Arizona, but they stay, they come back. They are residents here. They intend to stay here. We get in-migration from Minnesota and Michigan and Iowa. They still want the seasons, but they don't want that much snow and cold anymore, right? So the aging population is growing significantly in the region. And those 75 and older are among the fastest growing of the older population. Actually, 100 and over is the fastest growing segment. But the 79 to 80 is huge. Next slide. The other thing is that our demographic shift, we're really going through a demographic shift. Take a look at this because it's shocking. So this information is from the state demographic office. So last 30 years, the 0 to 17% population had 47% growth. In the next 30 years, we're only going to see 2% growth in that population. That's why we're seeing all those schools closed down. Jefferson County is kind of a microcosm of what's happening in the region. More older adults, less younger adults. 18 to 64, we had 75% growth in the last 30 years. This 17% growth. Why is that concerning? Because they're the workers. We need to attract workers to the state of Colorado. And that is housing and good job and pay. Now, last 30 years, we had a huge boom in the 65 plus at 166% growth. But look at in the next 30 years, it's 99% growth in this population. It is about aging for the next until 2050 and beyond. Aging is the new normal.
This survey is still from your region, of the regions you mentioned.
Yeah, but there are statewide, there is a statewide survey. So every area agency and aging in the state did the same survey.
Okay. And is it similar to these statistics?
This is a statewide statistic.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I'm sorry. Oh, no, this is DRCOG region, but yes, there are other parts of the state demographer's office has the statewide statistic. This is for the region. I apologize. So last time, we're also seeing slower growth in the region, right? 75% growth in the last 30 years, only 25% growth predicted this year. Or in the next 30 years. I'm kind of thankful about that. If you get on the freeways downtown, you can't imagine anymore, but we're still talking about 1 million people coming in the next, 20 years, I think now DRCOG's predicting. The thing that's really concerning for me is that worker population, because we have all of these older adults that are going to need service, but who's going to give them service? In California, it's even worse. They're starting to use care bots in nursing homes, robots, because they don't have enough staff. And the same thing is happening in our facilities. We are seeing staffing levels at the lowest rates that we've seen in a long time. So my first 20 years in aging, I was an ombudsman and I investigated complaints in nursing homes and assisted living. And then for the last 18 years-ish, almost 18, I've been the director of the Area Agency on Aging. So I've seen the shift, and long-term care is scary right now. So I guess what I would say is that when you're thinking about all of those, regular business that you do as a commission, think about how that impacts older adults. And is there a way we can help older adults with fire mitigation? Is there a way we can help older adults that might be isolated and dealing with mental health issues? Have any other questions? Yeah,
I want to remind us, we have
Sorry.
Sherry Hyde.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
She actually had to jet to another meeting.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, but she was there. She was there.
I want to tell you, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She is awesome. I am so grateful that she's a part. She comes to my meetings every month. She's been instrumental in organizing health fairs and information fairs. She's very connected in the community. I'm very happy with her service, and I think she provides a really good understanding of what the needs of older adults are up here.
And just to make sure you both know, she is our appointee to the
Yeah.
Area Agency on Aging.
I just really quick. So I am part of C4 Connectors, and one of our things is trying to connect with the aging community that are isolated, you know, at Mill Creek. Is that something that you're looking at and how we can do that better?
You know, we tried really hard in COVID to connect with people who are isolated in all parts of the region. I think it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge in the mountain communities and in the plains communities, because we also serve the Eastern Plains. They want to be, you know, they're there for a reason.
Them, like when we were campaigning, there was one gentleman that maybe he had chose to be isolated. I don't know. And he's where he's at Mill Creek. And when I went to his place and I left, I keep cried because nobody comes.
I think that's a huge problem. I think they started out that way, and now it's like, it's just that outreach, right? And trying to get folks in, to whatever it is, just trying to get someone who knows someone to bring them in to trust. You know, telephone outreach was really popular. We had a lot of money to do that during COVID, and now we don't have money to do that, but that's another resource, having phone trees. So there's a really good program in Larimer County where they have volunteers and they just have people call someone for one time a week and just chat. I think that's been really valuable. There are a couple of folks in my canyon that I try and go up, and it really depends on kind of the mood, but you know, you have to call and I have to shout in the phone, I'm coming up, right? Don't shoot me because that is a tendency for one individual. It's amazing. Some of the Meals on Wheels volunteers that we have that deliver home delivered meals, they deliver up goat trails. I am not kidding you. It is fascinating. And some snowshoe up. They put the meal close to their body and then snowshoe up. They drive up as far as they can in the winter. And it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how dedicated volunteers are in the community. I think faith-based the churches make a lot of connection, but just, you know, reaching out. I don't know if you can get closer to them and do something closer.
Well, and I know some of these do get Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
It is dropped off, and
Sometimes what we do, so if we want to get information out, we ask Volunteers in America if they'll put a flyer, some information on the Meals on Wheels so that hopefully someone will read it. And the other thing that's really home maintenance, you know, that seems to bring people out if you have a home maintenance like effort. Getting that information out will get people in because they need help. The number of water heaters that go out and what people do without water heaters for so long is unbelievable. It's crazy. We had a house up here, and that's one that Commissioner Wheelock helped me with, is that literally they had come along straps around the entire house holding the walls together. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not This is not good.
Yeah, well, thank you for being up here. It's definitely an important part of our population and something that is worth focusing on. If we, as we continue to explore service provision to aging folks, I presume we can reach out to you anytime.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm happy and I'm hoping, we're resource lean right now, but I think, where we're having some success is bringing communities together, faith-based communities, identifying needs and then saying, okay, how can we do this even without a lot of resources? Usually we can bring some money to the table. I haven't got my federal budget yet, though. So I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Be able to reach out to you for advice.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And there are resources in this community that we can ask and people to help. If we have even individuals, I'm sure get calls from older adults needing services. Please, I know you make referrals to us and we try, and I'm more than happy to come out. I have a special place in my heart for rural folks and rural older folks. I don't want to move to town either.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I'll see you tomorrow. Probably. You coming to board meeting?
I am.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move back up the agenda.
Yeah.
We've got a couple things to get through and then we're gonna try to make it to our joint meeting in Gilpin County. Leaving in the next 10 minutes is not gonna enable us to be on time.
No, we've got till 12:30 now.
Are we good?
There's lunch being served from 12 to 1. I
Oh.
told them, hopefully the latest for there is 12:30 is what I told them. But earlier we get, the better more time you've got before the meeting starts.
We don't have an emergency. We also don't have very much left on the agenda. The next thing, I'm going back up to item number 4, consideration of approval of county position letter on the FEMA Public Assistance Grant Program presented in a recent re-decisional OMB memo. So there was a OMB memo describing some pretty shocking changes to the way that FEMA would reimburse communities who experience disasters. You both were here in 2013. So was I. We remember how big of a hit one weather event caused to this community, how much both private people needed help from FEMA in restoring their properties, and how much the county and city governments needed from FEMA. And under this proposal, when we get that rainstorm again, or God forbid, when we get a wildfire or whatever, both individuals in our community and the governments that serve those people be paying a whole lot more before FEMA is able to show up and reimburse. I don't have specific statistics for Clear Creek County. They've not been calculated, but Larimer County, who's leading this effort, and we know why. It's because Larimer County is one of the most recent counties to experience the kind of disaster that caused them to rely on FEMA. The numbers from Larimer are, they would have to go from spending like $1 per person to like $7 or $8 per person. It's a massive, massive increase. So I'm sorry, 472. From 189 to 472. Now that I'm actually reading. So I think the ask here is to support our participation in this letter. I know it may change slightly. I know that there's an attempt to make this data more regional, but the intent of the letter is going to be the same. It's going to be to our congressional delegation, a number of counties signing on saying, hey, wait a second, we need this. With your support, I would communicate to Larimer County that we're happy to sign on, and any guardrails you have around how you'd like it not to change.
I support it.
I support it. Do you want a motion?
Peter?
Motion would be a good idea. Direction is fine too, but
I prefer direction. I'm gonna try to do what I can to informalize if both work legally.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, you can do either.
I've noticed a lot of other counties are able to get answers on this without going to a public meeting, and I want to innovate in that area.
Okay.
So. I think we have direction.
Yep.
Thank you. And I think that direction is to me to let Larimer know that we're good.
Yep.
Thank you. The next thing is a work session to discuss public safety plan.
We just met Monday. I don't have much to report. The survey's still open.
Okay.
I just checked, actually. I don't know. I was looking for when it closed. I didn't see a date, but I didn't have much time to look, but it should be closing soon, I would think, and we'll have some results before the next meeting.
End of this month, yeah.
Okay.
Just as an update of what I've been up to in the last almost 24 hours now is, I think there's a fairly urgent need for us to really try to lay out, maybe graphically, what these different tax proposal options are, who they include, what kind of timelines they'd have to work on. So that when we go back in June, we're able to really build that shared understanding of the options. This last meeting, everybody had a little bit to offer, and nobody really, myself included, really saw everything. And so what I've done is I've challenged Colton and Jeremy Jones to work with me to make sure that we walk into that meeting able to really communicate the options that we have and the consequences of those options in a concise and understandable way. So that's what I've been up to. Yep.
That would help. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little chaotic yesterday, with people being confused and
I was one of
a
them.
lot of options. Yeah. I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's fair. This is really, really fiendishly complex stuff. Unless you are staying up at night obsessing about it, you probably aren't going to have your head wrapped around it, and we can do better than that to our partners.
Well, and also some of it is dependent upon what happens with the state budget, what happens with the federal budget, and we don't, we may be used to getting funds from the state for something, and now we may not be, and so that makes it harder too.
It does. I mean,
And we don't know the impact on our assessments for house value. I talked to Donna G, and it may change or it may not change, and when do we know? And I'd like to be able to make the argument, or I'd like to be able to understand how to frame the argument. If the state limits it, then we can tell people, you don't need to appeal this, the money's gonna be less. But if they're not gonna limit it, then people don't want a mill levy on top of that. So, and I don't know when we'll know either.
I think we need to ask our staff to analyze that. What we know at a high level.
I don't.
What the assessed.
Thank you.
What the assessed values have changed to. What I haven't seen is an analysis of the law and an analysis of how much new revenue, if we're not required to lower mills, would be. I think we need to understand that picture. And I think we need to before this next public safety financing meeting. In an ideal world, we would have a better answer to the public as we enter these town halls than what I've been saying right now, which is, yes, your assessment went up, but your mill rate may go down. We may be required to lower it. The state may lower your assessment rate. And so we don't have a lot to say about it. That's not a great way to build trust, even though it's true. I think we need to do the analysis.
We got a meeting, or Peter's already set up a meeting for us all to talk about that law, so.
Great, thank you.
And that will affect the fire authority as well. I know that that is not our organization. And I know we can't do legal analysis for them, but the ESGID board is us. And so I'd like to know anything about whether the ESGID board may have to lower mills in response to this increase. And what the change in assessed value means in terms of revenue to the ESGID. And anything else? I think in particular, one of the things I'm going to challenge myself to do is contact Georgia and Lee Arenado. Georgia Cofield is the mayor of Georgetown. She was elected a week ago. It's reasonable that her head was spinning in that meeting, and I'd just like to offer her an hour to really go through this stuff. So I'm going to be doing that. Anything else? Okay. We finished the executive session. Peter, are we adjourning right now, or are we continuing to 203 Eureka Street?
We discussed this, the county manager and I. My suggestion would be that we adjourn, excuse me, let me rephrase that. My suggestion would be that we take a break, essentially. So I don't know what we would call that. And then resume, pick it back up when we are back at Gilpin. It's their meeting, they're agendized it. We put it on our agenda. It's not really the board's meeting. No decisions will be made, but I think for purposes of just the record, we adjourn at the end of that meeting because the public is invited to watch it.
Yeah. Just for the public's information, the Zoom link is not going to get you to that meeting. Right?
That's correct. So what the public will need to do is look at Gilpin County's webpage and their agenda in order to access that meeting. Although we're keeping this open because the board is together and there will be discussions of county business, the link would be to Gilpin County's.
Okay, so we're going to do a lunch break. This meeting will resume at a different location at 203 Eureka Street, Central City, Colorado, at roughly 1 p.m.